Hey everyone, playing with my Stream Deck stuff, and it looks like there's things are not quite right with it. So things are a little less smooth right now than I would like them to be, but I think that's going to be fine. So before I kick off too much here, one of the things I wanted to do was see if I could figure out whether or not I can get Sketch installed easily. And Sketch is a drawing app. You can get it installed easily, but I want to see if I can get the backups working. So let's see here. Sketch. No. Alright, so it looks like it's probably not something that I can do with Backup. So I don't have to worry about that too much. I just hoped, if possible, I could avoid having to actually go through the whole install process here. And what this is relating to is I want to be able to eventually create icons for my Stream Deck plugin. So I think I'm going to need this sooner rather than later. Know who I am? It's not giving me any. Wow. I have. Huh. Alright, I'll allow it. It looks like I have access and I don't need to worry about it, so cool. Alright, so I'm going to worry about this later. I actually know it's an option. Okay, so where are we at? Alright, so I kind of wanted to share where I've gone since, I think, Friday. I was playing with this a little bit more. I'm going to move everything into a separate little folder here. So Restream.io plugin samples. And I'm going to pull channel over because that's the one that I have actually working. And what I should be able to do, you can see that this is actually attached to my actual account. And if we go to the channel list, it's currently empty. And that's because the token that I'm using to get the channel list is probably expired. So what I'm going to do is going to add new, and I'm just going to log into my existing account. What that will do is refresh the token for an account already in there. So I think I'd have to find some way to document that. But in theory, if I authorize this, we should see this automatically switch to the account I just added, and you will see that the select here actually updated. So it updated because it now has actual items listed. So these are the 4 channels that I have added to my Restream account. So I should be able to say I'm gonna create the first row to be Beau Simensen. So we're gonna do my Twitch, and then let's add the second one, which is going to be YouTube. I don't know the difference between these two, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know why. That's actually something that I should probably take a look at. So I don't know what the actual content is, but this is not nearly as useful. If I look at what the actual Restream dashboard looks like, it's a little easier to understand. So Twitch, Beau Simensen, YouTube, Beau Simensen. So it is actually possible. Let's bring up the debugger since we're here. And I think I may actually show channel info. Global settings, profile, channels. So let's see. So there is a display name. So I should use that instead. And I can also use something with the platform ID. So there's another API call that I can use to figure out what platform ID 5 is. I'm guessing that's YouTube. Well, I mean, I know it's YouTube, but we can use that to generate something a little nicer here. So we can do sort of like what Restream already does and say YouTube-Beau Simensen or YouTube-Beau Simensen's art. Cool, so I think I'm going to do that. That'll probably be the first thing I'll do, just so that we can have a better idea of what's going on here. So let's fire up PHP Storm. And this is the new Stream-Deck TypeScript library that I've been playing with by Xerox Dev. So this actually has been updated since Friday in a big way. So what I want to do is just get this version stabilized of our Stream Deck plugin and then see what we need to do to move it over. So I'm going to copy the URL into chat here so that people have it if they want it. There we go. So yeah, so this library actually makes things a lot easier. It abstracts a bunch of the weird calls that were kind of confusing, hard to follow. It also does some things with at least settings, if not global settings, that make the whole process a lot easier. So we'll take a look at that a little bit more in a bit. But first I want to go back to the property inspector. Plugin property inspector. And okay, so option.text instead of channel.url, let's do channel.displayname. Got channel.displayname and do the platform lookup. So this is public. This actually doesn't even require access to at all to the credentials. So this could be done anywhere, anytime. So what I might want to do is maybe do this call as a part of the core plugin itself, so that the plugin can have this information. Initialize, request global settings, and sure. I go into Restream client, I can see how we're setting that up. Pretty much going to be the same thing. This dot fresh platforms. Don't need headers, and URL is going to be this. Oh. Sometimes I get stuck with that smaller JavaScript notation. So also need to make this async. How much return is fine with that for now. And So I need to be able to store this somewhere. I kind of want to put it in global settings. I think I'm going to have to capture global settings. So let's do SV on events. Did receive global settings. Settings. Work. Oh, payload.settings. Okay. Payload. So what I want to do with this is capture the actual settings and then once we have the global settings, then we want to refresh the platform because I want to make sure that what is settings at this point? Yeah, so any request the settings, and we are going to do settings dot theme platform. Set global settings to set. There we go. So once we receive the global settings, we are going to refresh platforms, which will then set the platforms if they didn't exist or update them if they did already exist. I think that should be fine. So let's see what happens if we try to run this as it. Global settings, Restream accounts. Okay, so I don't want to go more into there. Here, found not found, in for each. Oh, I'm actually looking at the DevTools for Property Inspector. So what I need to do is actually look at the plugin. Settings. All right, so this is actually a bunch of other stuff that wasn't working, and this is one of the reasons why we're going to be trying to update code, because this didn't seem to work correctly. Oh. Browserify, Watchify. plugin and plugin inspector. Okay, so I have all three working. Okay, refreshing platforms. So we actually got the call there. Go back to the plugin and see if we can find. Okay, so there are 47 existing platforms, and there are 47 new platforms. All right, cool. So this should be able to give us the ability then to build out the title correctly for the channel. Right now, the channel is still using URL. Might be because we have. Okay, now it's using the title. Makes sense. We also want to include the restream platform. So are these? So the IDs actually don't match up with the indexes, so we have to do a proper find. Which is fine. So find the platform name. So I actually wrote a wrapper around global settings. So I think I can do this here. Say, so get restream IO accounts. I can do get by they were called. Streaming platform ID. So platform by, let's just do by ID, I guess. Hint. Perfect. Let's add it here actually. So support. Still getting used to being able to actually define types for things like this, so here I might as well do it where I can. And so let's do interface for streaming form. Oh, we'll just do ID. rel. I'm just gonna this string title. No, it's back. We've got name, image, URL. Okay, so we've got name, URL. Then there are images. So we have, if I want alt image or not. I could do them anyway. Haven't done anything with enums in this project yet. Images, alt. I guess I can just define those, their interfaces. Type. So this is going to be weird because it won't be weird. Fortunately, you can't create it doesn't seem like you can create the key types using anything but string or number. But string. Oh, and I stopped using IO. Close. Okay, so that works. So really, images and alt images. Oh, actually it's not images, it's image. That makes things a little nicer. Okay, so image, alt image. These are both the same format, so that's good. So platform image. Not do image type, let's do rel. Done what I Okay, so this should give us a little more structure around what get platform by ID could return. It's Stream.io streaming platform. Okay, cool. So what we can do is return Stream.io accounts. This is actually going to be stream platforms. Free this dot forms dot first end. Looking for a platform that has the ID that was passed in. Find it. First element in the array where the predicate is true, and then so it would work actually. Not assignable to type Stream.io. I don't really know what we're supposed to do for error cases where something is optional, but let's do for null. Yes. Oh, the null is not. I don't know how undefined is different than null. So in our vector, we are going to do const the settings channel dot I don't think I think, yeah, channel is any at this point, so didn't bother typing that yet. So we've got platform ID, we can do for a number. It's actually going to complain because there's a wrapper up. It seems to be letting me do this outright. Not sure why, because usually TypeScript's been really annoying about this. Do the platform, play name, let's do. I think this is how we. If it does, awesome. Not, well, worst thing in the world. I don't know if that's failing because legitimately failing, or if it's failing because token expired. Cannot read property find of undefined. Property find on the global. We need to make sure that the global settings should have values here. Global settings has restream platform. So somewhere it's getting restream platform instead of restream IO platform. IO streaming platforms. We have Stream IO accounts and Restream platform. still don't understand how these things interact with each other, really. Because global settings should have restream streaming platform. I don't know why it doesn't. Global settings here should have that. Let's do got plugin. We've got actions, so there's 2 actions defined. Why did it not? Okay, so it does have restream IO streaming. Should be in there. Why doesn't this get it? Oh. Where this is so frustrating. I mean, I'm happy it shows up now, but also, why didn't it show up before? That would have been awesome. Alright, so we've got our channel list here, which is good. I think one thing I wanted to do was hide the channel list entirely if there isn't an account selected, because these only make sense if there's an account selected. Okay, anyway, so we have done a little bit of extra work here to get the platform taken into it. So I'm going to see if I can kind of do a snapshot of where we're at. So this icons, since Go Supernova gave me such a hard time last time, thought I should that way. 45 files, wow. I don't know how much it makes sense to put the dist directory in, but I think that's what other people are doing. This is just a throwaway repository anyway, so that we have a copy for later. Well, maybe not. Maybe we're actually going to keep it. Okay. So the main changes that we need to do tonight is bring in the new version of the library. So we're going to update. And this should bring down a new version, or not. I think this Typescript version constraint. Code. I found better sometime. Let's just run it again and see if it will update its version constraints. Nope. Alright, so now we have 2002. And theory. Oh, I actually thought more things would be broken. By restarting these. Okay, there we go. So, did you mean SDK event? Okay, so the main things that I think the dev said was the action events and the PI events are now split out. That wasn't the case before. There was one SD on event that you could optionally pass in a name, sort of like for this PI event here. So that's going to be one thing that we have to do. This is something that we're going to have to use on the main class. And all right, so create the counter action. So this was like a bunch of the work was already easier because of the first version of this library, and now an easier because of this library, because this library has now taken some of this off. So what I was doing before was I was creating a list of actions. As the actions were showing up on the screen, so will appear for, say, a channel. I was trying to find the action. If it wasn't there, it'll create a new instance. Apparently this all happens behind the scenes now, so we don't have to do anything with this. And also, again, this SD on event doesn't exist. So I'm going to remove this. Apparently, we also don't need the global settings because the settings are supposed to come elsewhere. So did receive settings. So this is for the PI. And the actual actions themselves are going to be a little different as well, because it needs to extend the Stream Deck plugin handler rather than just being a plain old class. But I was running into some really weird things before, so I think this will probably be hopefully a lot easier. So let's roll back here to the plugin. We no longer need the SD plugin. I'm actually going to open it, for example. So the plugin itself, so in this case it's counter, only needs a constructor. Constructor. Actually, I will do constructor, needs to call super, and then we'll need to create an instance of our action. Not going to worry about just yet. First thing we need to do is extends Stream-Deck plugin handle. Delete these for now. Bring them in as. Alright, so class restream IO incorrectly extends base class and level settings is private. Okay, so this is already handled. Or not already handled, but I can't actually use this scene. So if we're going to do something here to like refresh platforms like that, then okay. All right, so this class now works. That's how we need to change the plugin. So now we're going to create a new instance of our actions. I'm going to look at the channel action. So do and give it the right name. I could type it out, but today's the day for that. Back to the plugin. Expected one argument got. Okay, that makes sense because fix this. So an actual class, we now need to extend the I guess we're giving it two types. So we're giving it our plugin plus the action itself. So rather than extending my action class, we're going to extend Stream-Deck action. And we're going to do plugin. Restream IO. Oh. It's not exported. That's a difference, definitely, from what ports we didn't have. All right, so is on. Let's leave that there. The constructor needs to take a plugin and the action name. So this is a bit of boilerplate, which is a little unfortunate, but honestly, if this works as advertised, it's good. Anything else we've done. And then we just pass that. Super. And then we can do more stuff on our own. I think I'm actually going to all this. We'll leave a channel action for now. But I just think this whole process is going to be a lot nicer. There's some logic here for doing something a little more complicated, or key up and key down. So we're not going to replicate any of that, but there's a lot of like timeout things. So key up from channel. So we need to change this event type to SD on action event. And so we gotta type it. So settings. Okay, so that's cool. So the devs actually made it so I can do this, since I've already created my settings. I don't need to worry. Skip event settings. Turn on, turn off. Update, set title on. Okay, so this is expected 2 to 4 arguments, but got 1. We actually need to set the context for set title now. This is probably relating to some of the issues that I had, because it looks like they are requiring the context to be captured from the event now, which makes sense because I didn't understand how it was working before. But this makes a lot more sense to me. So we need to pull out context. It does make it a little more annoying because we have to then propagate context everywhere. So did update settings. So context is just a string, which I guess that makes clear. So text. I suspect there might be something that we can do. There might be something that we can do to make this a little. We don't have to. We can capture one of the other events when the object is defined, that we could actually store context locally, which might be the next step for libraries adding that. So in theory, this should be enough to get the action actually working. Up event, AC data, which is settings, device, so this is still missing for me access to global settings. Apparently I can request them, which is fine, but Alright, since we're just displaying stuff, this doesn't matter for now. See what happens. Okay, so something is still broken. Check the plug. All that fun stuff we just did, we kind of source settings. Hmm. All right, so I'm going to switch how I'm doing this because I wanted to get I don't think I need this. So this was actually making things a little more complicated. So initially I was trying to use the settings object to save itself. I didn't want to do all of this elsewhere, so for now I think I'm going to let something else actual set. I'm sure this will come back to bite me, but for now, account ID, restream channel ID, null. Should have cleared up those errors, hopefully. Restream client, take a look at that. He was using that plugin for something. I didn't actually finish that, so I wanted to be able to get the Stream client instance for a specific plugin. Now that things have changed, it's not even, that doesn't even make sense. So get channels is going to get the list of channels. The get token still works the same way. It's getting the information from global settings and settings, because global settings contains the actual tokens and credentials, whereas the settings contains which account specifically being accessed. Getting the information, we get the token. Where's that? Yeah, okay. So get token. It creates the header. So I think what I'd like to do is copy this code that we did earlier here. So let's get not private anymore. I think we'll just do get streaming platform. And then not going to actually set anything here. We're just going to return it. That'll mean the caller has to do actually reasonable separation of concerns here. All right, so this class, hopefully, global settings is going to have the same sort of changes that we did in settings class. Global settings has Restream IO accounts and Restream Learning platforms. Instructor. Sure. Save, we're going to get rid of for now. Register account. Similar to what we did for settings, we're going to remove all of the saving. All we need to do. Actions. So action, I'm just going to delete a lot of stuff in here that is completely handled by the actual library now. So still 12 errors, which is odd. All right, so then the plugin inspector is the other part, and so that's actually going to probably be a sizable amount of work. All right, so if we look at the example code for the plugin inspector, we need to extend, so we're not using a decorator here anymore. Sending property inspector handler instead of the no longer need to have a top level Stream-Deck plugin. But that is going to have a lot of knock-on effects for us because there's going to be a lot of calls to plug in. So should show channel list. I'm going to remove this for now because I think we're going to be able to do some stuff now, but So I had to do this for a plugin as well. I have to do. Yeah, the Stream Deck action had to specify types. It looks like I have to do that now for the property inspector as well. On in type. Settings is crap. Ah. That's what's wrong. Okay, cool. So apparently I don't need those, which is good. I wonder if that means so it looks like Plugin Inspector has a lot more fun stuff that we can in it. We're looking at this settings, this, and that. Stream Deck Property Inspector Handler. So there's both settings and it's underscore. Okay. I'm hoping, I would love to be able to get that at the action level as well, but I think that might not just. Okay, so init. We don't need init anymore because we are. This is stuff that's all handled as a part of extending Property Inspector handle. Save Restream account ID. This is it's no longer needing plugin. We actually removed the requirement for those. However, I don't know why this .settings is settings. It looks like I can optionally specify the have to, I can. Now this settings is, I believe, this .settings. You've got me feeling like you're where I wanna be, Please don't let me go, I need you right here by my side. So won't you run away with me tonight? You could be the one that I've been wanting all my life. Cause when you're looking at me with those eyes, I don't wanna leave, I need you, we could be the light. So won't you run away with me tonight? I could be the one that you've been wanting all your life. Cause I know that I'm ready to go to the brighter side. I think this is working like I'm, at least the editor seems to. So then what I would need to do is this .save settings. Getters. See what that is. That's why .settings works. I don't know why we. Ready. This .settings. I prototype something here. Seems like a little easy. Because this looks like not a lot of fun text. And everything else is dealing with them. Settings and global settings here are default types, so I think what I can do
There's no mercy.
settings, settings. Gotten really. I'm gonna do sync settings. Going to actually get a value. This dot set settings. Basically the same thing. Set settings, only templating it. Settings. I'm going to call it sync because that gives the wrong impression. Flush setting. This gives me the ability to set the settings based on things like this. So I'm actually modifying the settings using the settings object. This gives me the ability to then flush whatever I've changed on this object. So I should be able to flush settings. Okay, so this is save restream account ID SD. What's the new ready event? Oh, it's just on ready. Guess that's just. Okay, so this needs to be. Okay, cool. All right, so inside ready, we are asking global settings to register restream account with the information that we get from the pop-up that comes up with the OAuth data. So this is the OAuth data. We no longer need to pass in the plugin, but it does mean that we need to call this .flush global settings, because this modifies global setting. Oh, not yet, actually. This is where that happens. So I'm going to copy flush settings, flush global settings. There we go. So this will make sure that the changes that are done here. Oh, actually. No, I was right the first time. So this is calling into global settings and registering it. And as a result, it gives us the account ID. We then flush the global settings, and then we call save restream account ID, which is up here. And then this flushes the normal settings. So this is both pieces to that then. If the auth window exists, close it. This was something that was kind of annoying before. I went through the whole OAuth dance. I had to manually close the little pop-up window, but this fixes that. We then ask to update the UI, which is how the account becomes selected correctly after you log in OAuth. Restream account ID element. None of that changes. We're actually getting the selector for the account. When it changes, we look to see what the new selected value is. If it's new, we don't do anything because this is, you're changing to new, it gets picked up somewhere else. We didn't want it to double pick up. If there's a value, we want to call this settings assign restream account ID, and we no longer pass plugin. I think this probably should be calling this settings assign restream account is what we're doing, because if it is, assign restream account ID, yeah. Alright, yeah, I can't think of a reason why we wouldn't. If selected value, otherwise unassign it. We'll just do this dot. Save it as selected value. Why is this a problem? But we should only do that if it exists. Well, let's see what happens. It's possible. Actually, let's do that. If value otherwise use null. I think that will actually work a little bit. Then update the UI. The click handler is here because there was, if we only showed new and you ever wanted to try to click new, there was no way to get a change to happen. So this is a good way to, we're going to sort of the inverse of what's going on. So if value is new, we don't really care because we're not doing it. So we just open the, get the external URL, set the auth window to opening that window. Channel ID element, restream channel ID, unselected value, assign restream channel ID. We're going to do something similar to what we did. Just take this logic out of it. This dot save. And like what we did here, if like the value, then we are going to with selected value. Otherwise, we're going to pass in null. Right to this. Very similar to this, except replace with channel. And so I think we can actually clean up the other one as well a little bit more. So save restream channel ID. Do the same selected value thing here. Selected value. Selected value just makes the whole go a little nice. Okay, and update UI, same thing here. We're going to want to update UI. Weak. Yeah. And then plugin request global settings and request settings. We don't need either of those anymore. Because I think we have them and get settings from somewhere else eventually. But as far as needing them right now, I don't think. So let's do SD on guy event instead. So settings. Okay. Settings. I think I see an issue here. We get new settings. Really want to call set settings because we aren't actually, like, set settings is actually telling yeah, so this is actually sending the set settings event. That's not actually what I want. I think we almost need to have a ingest. Basically this behind the scenes. Merge. There we go. Do the same thing for global setting over here. So then what we should be able to do is put settings dot so if we get information from somewhere else that triggers settings to change, we can actually get that information. Then merge the values into the existing settings object that we already feels really correct right now. So do the same thing for global settings. Same thing, we're going to merge. Update UI is going to be interesting. This is something I'm not really sure. Not really sure how we can actually do something with this just yet, because we don't have access to. Well, we do have access. If not settings, just leave it like it is for now. But essentially, we can't really update the UI until we have both the global settings and the action setting. And this will maybe be a little more obvious later. So we're going to look to see whatever accounts are listed in here, we're just going to remove them all. So this clears out all of the accounts. If we have an account ID, why are we doing that? Oh, this is for channels actually. So this looks to see if there are any channels. If there are, it removes them all. Channel selected equals false means that by default it assumes we aren't going to have any channel selected. We get a Restream client with settings, global settings and settings. We try to get the channel list. And so it's going to know and figure out which credentials to use and which channel or which account ID to look for. So it tries to get the channels. We console log the channels for each of them. We create a new HTML element for an option tag. We do the work that we did earlier to get the platforms. Put the value to the channel ID. We template the channel name. I'm going to do. So once we start going through here, it'll be tell when this actually. If the channel ID in the loop, same as the Restream channel ID on our settings, then this option becomes selected, and we mark that a channel is selected, and then we add it to the list. If there isn't a channel selected, we create a blank object or blank option and select that blank option. So if there are 10 channels but none are selected, or like in this case there's 4 channels and none have been selected yet, it creates a blank spot as a placeholder. The idea is that you don't want to just automatically select the first channel on the list, because that can be more dangerous. At least if it's blank, then people have a choice to actually opt into what they want that channel or what they want that action to be associated with. We do the same dance for the account list. The account list will look to see whatever things are in this drop down already and delete them. Similarly, we do selected here, so we'll do and account is select. It was the first one I did, so I wasn't specific with the naming, but better. Get restream IO accounts. Why is this bad? It has any type. Interesting. Because this is what? It should be a little more specific than that. Well, I might have to fix that in a bit. I'm not really sure what's going on. We're going to look at all of the accounts. Similar to before, we're going to create an option. We're going to set the value in the text to the ID and the username. If it's the selected event, or if it's the selected account, then we mark it as selected and record that one was selected. The blank object is the blank option is always going to be there for the accounts, just because I wanted some separation here. If you select that, it doesn't really matter. But I did want to have a blank one always there. And then if there isn't an account selected, the blank object the blank option is going to be automatically selected. And then we always add a new tag at the end. So that more or less sets this stuff up. I think one thing that we can do pretty easily is for the channel selector, settings, restream account ID, else of this, else, and let's hide channel. Channel ID element. File dot. We can actually hide the channel list if there isn't a account ID. So if we haven't selected an account, we don't have to show the channel list at all. Likewise, I think that we should be able to hide it if it's empty. So actually not do this as an else. If not for ID element options is less than 2. Let's not show it. I think less than 2 because if there are no channels, there's going to be exactly one item. let's actually do. Yeah, so I think that will hide the channel selector if there is no channels for the account. Either this has failed, or in my case, where it is. If the refresh token, or if the token expires, it will hide it. And also, if you select, if you haven't yet added an account, then it should go away as well. Let's see where we're at for compiling. Alright, so there's one error for this free. Don't understand how this is any different than what we would. An account. So it's saying it's implicit as any type, but it seems to have detected exactly what it should be. I will. It doesn't give me that error up here for the channel. That's even a promise. Oh well. Worry about it. It could be. Alright, well. Did it compile? And so let's go ahead and almost run things. Save restream account, save the channel ID. Ready. Okay, so I should file all the things. Theory. This one first.
Laying back in this bed, playing back what you said, and it's not really helping me.
Coming Boo and Bar, which I think is
a dangerous ride. I'm coasting, out of body floating, lost in my emotions. I've been spinning slowly, trying to keep my head above water. Then you go and pull me under. Crazy thing.
Go into our channel action. Oh, must be. I lucked out on the last. No, why is that? Oh, because there's no. Why does that? What's going on here? And in the constructor, when a class contains initialized prop. Okay, so that's different.
Then you go and pull me under. Crazy thing, I know I'm done for. Stuck in this state of wonder.
Constructing channel action. Okay, cool. So this is the weird part. Not actually creating multiple actions. Even though there's 2 on the board right now, it's only creating 1. This is where I struggle, because this is why I feel like this example, I don't know how it works. Alright, so this action no longer has any state, which is how it works. It is getting all of its state from settings.
You're not as cold as me.
I guess I need to play with this a bit, make sure that I get it. So could just look at output here when I push the buttons. Alright, so key up and channel. So this one has, the second one has a different context. Makes sense. This .channel action is on as false. If there's only one instance of the action, I have no idea how it's keeping track of my state. Now I'm gonna do my own counting. Privates. On. If this actually works. Period shit. updating context. So inside channel action, we now have a counter. So anytime we push Alright, so we can see 1 is listed on the title now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if the second channel over here picks up at 1 or whatever, or 0, I just don't get it. Because it's only constructing one object, so maybe it's cloning them? Ah, here we go. Yeah, okay, so it is working like I was expecting. Second here, I'm gonna stand up for a bit. I don't think this is particularly bad. That this is the behavior. I just don't. It seems to be different than what is going on here. I guess that's why this newer version of this library is getting the settings for every event and then setting the new settings anytime something changed. Seems like this is going to make for a much chattier API, but doesn't really. So I guess what I need to do is instead of just logging this information, let's do up payload settings. Sure, ID. We can probably this is where it would be very nice if the global settings were a part of. They aren't. Actually, no, because it doesn't. Okay, I get it. Okay, so if we want global settings, we get those. So I'm going to remove counter because we didn't need that. In fact, I'm going to remove is on because I really don't think this is something that you need to track locally. It's something that needs to be stored in settings. In fact, I'm just going to comment this out now. Arbitrary. See if Stream-Deck Act just has. It's not every class needs to have global settings, I guess, is the thing. But we need a on action event. Did receive settings. Settings. Already. Okay, so this should save global settings for us. And in fact, we probably want to do merge thing. Probably want to write the object itself. And probably do something here and set it. I don't need null then.
Yeah,
Okay, so I can call two global settings, and then this dot. No. The plugins. Okay, so it looks like it actually requested it. If I can get your event. Pull up here, this update context. Title. Okay, so that actually updates these correctly. If I press a button, title went to N8. Console log said EF 898122, which is the restream ID. Oh. So the first action has the correct values. Second action does not, and my guess is that that has to do with the property inspector. may actually not have those values set. Let's switch to that for now. So clicking this one, we do have an account list and a channel list, which I'm a little surprised is. Look for the property plugins. Ready doesn't list anything. Something. Where did we save? Alright, so we did get ready. We didn't request the settings, so maybe we need to do that. I thought we wouldn't need to. But it's entirely possible. Okay. Global settings merge is not a function. Actually run into a lot of issues. Both settings and global settings had issues with it. Press global. Oh. Properties. Settings and global settings. Why did I do that? Maybe this will be an easier fix than I thought. Settings and global. I haven't figured out why sometimes the fail to reload. I can't get this to reload. Go to where it says ready. So it's still having the same problem. Global settings merge is not a function. Be able to Alright, so the problem, I think, is nobody is ever constructing the settings, which means that these functions don't exist. Which means we may end up with problems up here, where we were trying to call these functions. However, I think we can make do with the fact that we abstracted this. So, const settings to settings. This should give us. Hey, Jaloop, how's it going? Thanks for joining tonight. So I think this should give us a new active version of our settings. We can then call these functions active version. Then we can call flush settings this.settings. I think flush settings should take in settings. There we go. So settings or set the core setting. Which is really starting to feel pretty obscure here. But it does get us to the point where I think this stuff should start. Just working after a fashion really frustrates me that there aren't hooks to get into. So Jaloop's asking, what are you working on? I thought Stream Deck was hardware. Yeah, the Stream Deck is definitely hardware. But the coolest part about Stream Deck is that they finally released SDK. I say finally, this was a while ago. They finally released an SDK that lets you code custom plugins. So this, what you see on the right-hand side of the screen here is actually a mirror of what my hardware shows currently. And so if I push buttons, like if I press the button to go up, you'll see the Stream Deck software. This is the Stream Deck software that you see on the screen shows the same stuff that the hardware does, except it gives you the back door into what it means. So if we look at this live button, you can see that this is an OBS Studio scene, and I gave it a title of live so it was more obvious what was going on. You can see that it's using the live code 1440p OBS Studio screen set, and then you can see all of the scenes that are in my OBS Studio. So what I've wanted to do is make it easier to interact with Restream, because I'm going to be doing multiple multiple projects through the same Restream account. If you look at Restream.io, what you're going to be able to see is I have two sets of data. I have Twitch and YouTube for coding. I have Twitch and YouTube for doing art stuff. And the only way I can really organize it, or the only way you can control who's looking at what, is manually toggling these. So I have to remember to go in and toggle Twitch Beau Simensen on and make for the, if I'm going to do a live code event, and if I'm going to do live art, I have to turn these off and turn these two on. Kind of a pain to really consider doing that. So what I've been wanting to do is make it so I could have a set of tools on the Stream Deck so that I can click a button that would say turn off, like on my Stream Deck here in my office. I have a button that says turn off all of the art streams and turn on the code streams. Or out in the studio, I can have another button on the Stream Deck out there that says turn on the art streams and turn off the code streams, so that those things can be automated. They also have the ability to do multi-actions. So if we look at my streaming multi-action for prep, you can see it actually has 4 actions that it's doing. So if we click into that, click into prep here, we can see that it does a system operation of opening OBS. It opens a couple of browser windows and a couple of apps. This one isn't terribly exciting. The one that's really cool is the, if I go into solo and we look at the, this solo here is another multi-action. And so if I look at what those actions are, we can see that it switches the Stream Deck profile to the streaming profile. So it changes the which screen shows up on the Stream Deck. It switches to starting soon. It turns the mic on, but makes sure that the mic is actually on. So this is what I'm going to be doing with the panel actions for Restream. Is I'm going to be able to say select my Restream account and select the code Twitch account and say active, and then add another one that can be the code YouTube account and have it active. But I can then say for the art channel, I'm going to have it deactive. So when I click the button, I'll have one button that will basically do all of this for me. That one button will turn on 2 channels and turn off 2 channels in one go, which will be pretty nice. I think this one had something interesting in it. This one actually had a disabled source. So this goes to starting soon. It turns off the timer source. And then also one of them, prep, maybe turns the mic off. No, it doesn't. Never mind. I thought one of them turned the mic off. So there's a lot of things that you can do with like the built-in functionality for Stream Deck, but people are building some interesting things. I think it'll be even easier to build. I think it'll be nicer to build interesting things as people keep developing new stuff on top of the SDK. So I've been working with a Typescript SDK implementation that this Xerox dev person created to abstract a bunch of the things. I spent like 6 hours last week streaming trying to figure out how to do this with just raw JavaScript, and it was such a nightmare. But what this is letting me do is sort of get closer to working with the functionality and not having to worry so much with how things are getting set up. But it is a brand new library, so there are things that are changing quickly. And so one of the things was they gave this notion of having a templated setting type. So they ship as settings, but then they also let you create your own settings, which is nice because that's actually what I've done. I have my own settings instance that is active. I can do stuff to it. Like I can tell it to set the Restream account ID. The problem is with Typescript, it took me a while to figure this out, that even though I have a settings type, if I say, if someone passes me a value that is an instance of basically just random data, and I say this dot global settings equals this as global settings, right? This actually works, but this doesn't necessarily mean that any functions defined on global settings actually does anything. So it has the right shape, but what we're seeing here in the output is saying, yeah, that's great. It looks like it's supposed to, but you don't actually have the access to call functions on it. So if I go here again, put up. So if I look at property inspector, so global settings merge is not a function. So global settings merge is very much a function. It's just not actually an object at that point. So it's a JavaScript object that looks like it has the right shape and properties, but it does not. It's not a class instance, even though it looks like it should be. So this is in global settings handler, merge settings. Where do I have? Yeah, so this is the thing here that I wonder if I do need these things. This would. What we would normally do probably is this .settings equals settings. And I may just have to do that. No, I can't do that. It's private. It receives settings, so it maybe we don't need it then. Okay, so we don't maybe even need this because these things are working. The problem is that I want to be able to trigger the UI when these things happen. So the question is, which of these functions will get called first? Will... Oh, see, it is requesting the settings. This. All right, so I'm going to back out of these. I comment them out. See if this matters. Ready is there, but nothing is calling the because nothing's calling update UI. Alright, so here we have settings, but the global settings are not yet available. So we can't call update UI here. Could be really dangerous. That we're calling I can't do. Shouldn't be doing that. Unready. There we go. Global settings get restreamed. Really annoying. So I can fight this, or I can not. Where am I? Where is that all happening? Get restream my accounts. To global setting. I feel sufficiently happy with doing it. For now. But I don't get the feeling this is going to make me happy long term. This higher, because I see one other place where we need settings. And this dot settings that okay, so like this is fine because this is read only. That should work. Same thing here. See what happens if we reload. Okay, so now we actually have an option to add account. Cannot read property of undefined. Get token. Interesting. Why? Where is that? In client settings and client.get token property find into all right, so global settings read apparently is so my simple check here doesn't make sense. So global settings is not set. It is set to not available yet. There we go. So if it's not set, settings aren't set, or global settings aren't set, or if global settings are set to not available yet, then we are going to for a little timeout. And this is working. Where this was actually calling request global settings. think anything's even calling these yet. Get rid of them. Likewise, but ready's getting called. Calling update UI. I think rather than calling this here, I'm going to re-enable this. If this ever gets called. Update UI is not getting called. Or it's Alright, so this is being displayed here. Ready. Quest things. Again, I don't understand why. The global settings is private. If I do that, it's been having. Okay, so that's good. We're getting there. Panels is undefined. I'm almost positive that's probably because the bar. Wow, I've been at this for 3 hours. I think it might almost be a time to call it a night. Clearly I didn't get as much done as I was hoping to. Bummer. If we can at least panel list, sure. Might have to try and see if I can find the best way to give Xerox Dev some more feedback on this. But we disabled all of the cool stuff, so it didn't actually do the things that we needed. Because this was definitely harder than it seemed. I actually write this down so I don't forget. So, those are the things that we've touched on so far tonight. If we reload the page now. Okay, channel all failed with off code. Okay, that actually see what happens now. Register, restream. Where is that? This one. Ah. This was in register account. There might be a way I can make this stuff work better than. Kind of grumpy. Worked really well before. I'm gonna do the same thing. Private, save. Same thing that we're doing up above here. So I think that fixes that. There we go. I'm also seeing the okay, so bar one status, let's see if it platform is finicky though. Nice. Okay. So we have panels. For some reason, it's not actually them here. I wondered if the way that I was doing play none was going to be a problem. Beau Simensen here. Curious why that failed. Oh, maybe it didn't. I maybe never had account select. Okay, so we have new and we have Twitch. Here, never had a channel before, and now we, for some reason. So if I choose Twitch Beau Art, works, but after it reverts to the original value.
From the past I left behind. I'm looking for answers, but I'm blinded by the light. I'm lost in the music, can I stay here for the
Change.
night? I promise
Save
I'll be
the
gone
restream
in
channel.
the morning, out of sight and out of mind.
Possible that what I need to do here is put settings and request new settings. I think if I request the settings, this is where it would be. It would be more ideal for me to be able to modify settings directly and then flushing the set. Because I can't actually do this. I wonder if I can do the object assign right here. Try that. So we're going to assign into that settings from settings. Really, we had a merge function. And we need the reverse of this. Not entirely sure I like that name. So it goes. So if I have flush settings calls, where that's important. Part of that the flush then. Two functions I'm going to add. Try to make this a little wrapped settings. That is going to settings. I'm going to do get. It's used that before, but settings calls can be global setting replaced by wrapped global. All right, so settings. This dot flush settings. If flush settings become something that could be shipped, then I can wrap both of these. For now. I really don't want to jump through these. So if I flush wrapped settings, flush wrapped global settings, work. This restream ID. Save. That's all nicely abstracted now. Most of this work is up here. Value. Okay. Theory, I think this should work right. But after you select the channel, it should for which where does it get this? So client, global settings. So we don't have to do this anymore. We can do wrapped global settings. This dot settings. Okay, that's settings again. That's all good. So bridge. Fairly possible this isn't right anymore. The thing I wanted to do that I realized is the row is actually what, not just the, go ahead and do. Private channel. Okay, I think it's almost time for me to be done here, but we're going to get channel ID. What's this? As HTML development. So this is actually what we want to hide if there are no channels available. Not selected. I'm gonna do display none. Else not displayed. Property inspector yet. We've got that's a bummer. Could try visibility hidden. This must actually supposed to be flex or something. Elements. Go to yeah, so it looks like it needs to be display flex. Which is why this method of hiding elements flex. Okay, cool. Vector. Finding a bunch of stuff. Let's switch from Beau Simensen. Switch to Beau Simensen. Okay, so then it actually. Only thing I don't like is that it hides everything. That might not be good. Ah, cool. So we did actually have a case here where if I select none, then the channel goes away. Otherwise, it comes back and goes correct about. Oh, also, as long as not having a item selected is no longer an option here. There's no longer a blank option. So once you have a channel selected, then you're pretty much. So I don't know why the account drop down isn't doing the same. It doesn't seem to have the same behavior that when I select something that it disappears. Why is comment option 0, remove it. Exactly what I'm doing. Oh. I know what I can do. So I think the problem here is inlining the request to get the channel if possible. But I'm doing that after I've removed the elements. I need to do is actually those can stay up there. I can get the client here. Try to get the channels here. Let's do let channels array. Try get the channel. Only really wanted to do this if we have account ID, try to get the channels for that. So it should be an empty array. We'll try to get it. Channels. Try to get the channels from the client. And then we'll remove channels and then add them again. I think this now becomes in. So we should see much faster behavior. Yeah, cool. There is still a slight delay. I don't necessarily like, but it's still way better than it was. Cool. All right, so the things that we learned tonight, global settings, I either have a mental block on this or something. I'm not really sure what, because it's not always there, and working around it has been kind of, so it looks like it's requesting it, but it's not actually getting it, and I'm not sure why that is. A lot of the stuff that I'm building UI-wise sort of depends on both settings and global settings existing. One solution could be having an additional event that can fire when both settings and global settings have been realized, because at that point, we know when that happens. We also have a callback to say some settings have updated. Could be an event, set of events. Like this would be inside settings. This could commit an event. Are events being go. What's global settings? Did receive.
We stand
Both of these.
and watch the world go up in flames. We fight for love until we die in vain. When the sky is getting dark and we're broken in our hearts, when we build our own demise, from the ashes we will rise. When the world is falling down, will you be my solid ground? When the world is falling down, will you be my solid ground? Be my solid ground. We look off the edge till the waves come crashing in, and we say our goodbyes to the tides that might have been. When the sky is getting dark and we're broken in our hearts, when we build our own demise, from the ashes we will rise. When the world is falling down, will you be my solid ground?
We had an event like this would be useful for me because I could capture this event and check right away and know what the global setting. The problem is if I also do a did receive settings, I don't know which order will be caught in. Okay, so Okay. So I think I'm probably going to be done here. I've gone as far as I can on this stuff for now. I think that the next step for me is probably going to be looking at Restream client to do some sort of keep alive with the refresh token, because right now it doesn't do anything with it. It just gets the regular token. I put enough structure in place that wouldn't be too bad. Get token here right now is just looking to see as a token, and then it just gets the token. But I should be able to token equals turn token expires, so access token epoch expiration time less than new token. So I think this is where we would actually tie into this. To return this get new token, otherwise it'll return the token that it already has. An error or a warning? It's just a warning, I think. So I think it won't be too bad to try and do that. Hoping it won't be too bad. The only thing that's sort of missing is a graceful way of keeping track of the client ID here. But I think it won't be too bad if I hard code it for now. Cool. Alright, well, if you joined tonight, thank you so much. Looking forward to doing this again on Thursday night and hoping that I can get this project a little closer to being done. Switching to the new library was awesome. There was a lot of work in trying to figure out how to get some of the things that I was using to make my life easier working with the changes to the library. So the library became more abstracted, which was amazing, but it also abstracted into areas that made other parts of my life, especially with dealing with accessing my wrappers around settings and global settings. Turned out to be really, really painful to try to do things correctly with Anyway, thanks again for joining, and have a good night, and talk to you on Thursday.